There we are, May 25th, in Asia. And our first topic, Introduction to Hinduism, Part 2. Right, excuse the slide, I didn't fix it. It's not supposed to say awaken your misspelled super consciousness. Next section is entitled Hinduism's Unique Value Today. And if that's a question to you, how would you answer it? What do you think is Hinduism's unique value today in today's world? May 25th, 2025. What value is Hinduism to it? How is it helping people in today's world? There are good reasons for Hindus and non-Hindus alike to study and understand the nature of Hinduism. The vast geographical and cultural expanses that separate continents, peoples, and religions are becoming increasingly bridged as our world grows closer together. Revolutions in communications, the internet, business travel, and global migration are making formerly distant peoples neighbors, sometimes reluctantly. It is crucial if we are going to get along in an increasingly pluralistic world that Earth's peoples learn about and appreciate the religions, cultures, viewpoints, and concerns of their planetary neighbors. The Sanatana Dharma, with its sublime tolerance and belief in the all-pervasive divinity, has much to contribute in this regard. Nowhere on earth have religions lived and thrived in such close and harmonious proximity as in India. For thousands of years, India has been a home to followers of virtually every major world religion. The exemplar of tolerance toward all paths, it has offered a refuge to Jews, Zoroastrians, Sufis, Buddhists, Christians, and non-believers. Today, over 100 million Indians are Muslim, that's of course years old, for the most part magnanimously accepted by their majority Hindu neighbors. Such religious amity has occurred out of an abiding respect for all genuine religious pursuits. The oft-quoted axiom that conveys this attitude is, Ekam Sat Aneka Pantaha. Truth is one, paths are many. What can be learned from the Hindu land that has given birth to Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism, and has been a generous protector of all other religions? India's original faith offers a rare look at a peaceful, rational, and practical path for making sense of our world, for gaining personal spiritual insight, and as a potential blueprint for grounding our society in a more spiritually rewarding worldview. Hinduism boasts teachings and practices reaching back 8,000 years and more, its history dwarfing most other religions. In fact, there is no specific time in history when it began. It is said to have started with time itself. It's a nice picture. To emphasize the relative ages of the major religions and the antiquity of Hinduism, Raimon Panikkar, author of the Vedic Experience, cleverly reduced them to proportionate human years. With each 100 years of history representing 1 year of human life. Viewed this way, Sikhism, the youngest faith, is 5 years old. Islam, the only teenager, is 14. Christianity just turned 20. Buddhism, Taoism, Jainism, and Confucianism are 25. Zoroastrianism is 26. Shintoism is in its late 20s. Judaism is a mature 37. Interesting. Hinduism, whose birthday remains unknown, is at least 80 years old, the white-bearded grandfather of living spirituality on this planet. Followers of this extraordinary tradition often refer to it as Sanatana Dharma, the eternal faith, or eternal way of conduct. Rejoicing in adding on to itself the contributions of every one of its millions of adherents down through the ages, it brings to the world an extraordinarily rich cultural heritage that embraces religion, society, economy, literature, art, and architecture. Unsurprisingly, it is seen by its followers as not merely another religious tradition, but as a way of life and the quintessential foundation of human culture and spirituality. It is to Hindus the most accurate possible description of the way things are. Eternal truths, natural principles inherent in the universe that form the basis of cultural and prosperity. The basis of culture and prosperity. Understanding this venerable religion allows all people to fathom the source and essence of human religiosity, to marvel at the oldest example of the eternal path that is reflected in all faiths. So again, these numbers are old. While 960 million Hindus live in India, forming 80% of the population, tens of millions reside across the globe and include followers from nearly every nationality, race, and ethnic group in the world. The U.S. alone is home to 2.4 million Hindus, roughly 2/3 of South Asian descent and 1/3 of other backgrounds. Next section, Hindu scriptures. What does Shruti mean and what scriptures are included in Shruti? All major religions are based upon a specific set of teachings encoded in sacred scripture. Christianity has the Bible, for example, and Islam has the Quran. Hinduism proudly embraces an incredibly rich collection of scripture, in fact, the largest body of sacred texts known to man. The holiest and most revered are the Vedas and Agamas, two massive compendia of Shruti, that which is heard, revealed by God to illumined sages centuries and millennia ago. It is said the Vedas are general and the Agamas are specific. As the Agamas speak directly to the details of worship, the yogas, mantra, tantra, temple building, and such. The most widely known part of the Vedas are the Upanishads, which form the more general philosophical foundations of the faith. Atma and Brahma. What does Smriti mean and what scriptures are included in Smriti? That's a harder one to pronounce than Shruti. Smriti. The array of secondary scriptures known as Smriti, that which is remembered, is equally vast, the most prominent and widely celebrated of which are the Itihasas, epic dramas in history, specifically the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the Puranas, sacred history and mythology. The ever-popular Bhagavad Gita is a small portion of the Mahabharata. So all of that is Smriti, which is secondary to Shruti. The Vedic arts and sciences, including Ayurveda, astrology, music, dance, architecture, statecraft, domestic duty, and law, are reflected in an assembly of texts known as Vedangas and Upavedas. Moreover, through the ages, God-realized souls shared their experiences, have poured forth volume upon volume that reveal the wonders of yoga and offer passionate hymns of devotion and illumination. Creation of Hindu scriptures continues to this day, Its contemporary masters reiterate the timeless truths to guide souls on the path to divinity. So that's Swami Chinmayananda. He's representing that idea that gurus are still writing scripture today. Clear sign that a person is a Hindu is that he embraces Hindu scripture as his guide and solace through life. While the Vedas are accepted by all denominations, each lineage defines what other scriptures are regarded as central and authoritative for its followers. Everybody accepts the Vedas, but beyond that, the scriptures they accept are different from tradition to tradition. Further, each devotee freely chooses and follows one or more favorite scripture within his tradition, be it a selection of Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tirumandaram, or the writings of his own guru. This free-flowing, diversified approach to scripture is unique to the Hindu faith. Scripture here, however, does not have the same place as it does in many other faiths. I should have asked a question, so I'll ask it without the slide. What place does scripture have that's not the same as in many other faiths in Hinduism? For genuine spiritual progress to take place, its wisdom must not be merely studied and preached, but lived and experienced as one's own. So in some traditions, just memorizing the scripture and living a good life is enough, but here we have to experience things in Hinduism, to experience God. And the nature of God. Okay, see what it says. Some descriptions of Hinduism wrongly state that Hindus do not believe in a one supreme being, but worship a multiplicity of supreme gods. Don't want that to be the case. Common way that this misconception shows up is the idea that Hindus worship a trinity of gods: Brahma, the creator; Vishnu, the preserver; and Shiva, the destroyer. How would you respond to that misconception? Well, Hindus, they don't believe in a supreme being. They worship a trinity of gods. What would you say? To the Hindu, these three are aspects of the one supreme being. Good answer. To the Hindu, these three are aspects of the one supreme being. Indeed, with its vast array of divinities, Hinduism may, to an outsider, appear polytheistic, a term avidly employed as a criticism of choice, as if the idea of many gods were primitive and false. But ask any Hindu and he will tell you that he is worshiping the one supreme being, just as do Christians, Jews, Muslims, those of nearly all major faiths. If he is Saivite, he calls that god Shiva. A Shakta Hindu, he will adore Devi, the goddess. It's the ultimate divinity. If he is a Smarta Hindu, he will worship a supreme one deity chosen from a specific pantheon of gods, Ishta Devata. If a Vaishnava Hindu, he will revere Vishnu or one of his earthly incarnations called avatars, especially Krishna or Rama. Thus, it is impossible to say all Hindus believe this or that. Some Hindus give credence only to the formless absolute reality as God. Others accept God as personal Lord and Creator. Some venerate God as male, others as female, while still others hold that God is not limited by gender, which is an aspect of physical bodies. This freedom, we could say, makes for the richest understanding and perception of God. So that's a simple argument there, that In Hinduism, the soul, which in this life is male or female, in the next life could be the opposite, male or female. So the soul could be either one, because the soul is genderless. So if the soul is genderless, certainly God is genderless. That's a good argument. Hindus accept all genuine spiritual paths, from pure monism, which concludes that God alone exists, to theistic dualism, which asks, when shall I know His grace? Each soul is free to find his own way, whether by devotion, austerity, meditation, yoga, or selfless service. God is unimaginably transcendent, yet ubiquitously eminent in all things. He is creator and He is the creation. He is not a remote God who rules from above, but an intimate Lord who abides within us as the essence of everything. There's no corner of creation in which God is not present. He's farther away than the farthest star and closer than our breath. If His presence were to be removed from any one thing, that thing would cease to exist. Crucial point, often overlooked, is that having one supreme God does not repudiate the existence of lesser divinities. Just as Christianity acknowledges great spiritual beings who dwell near God, such as the cherubim and seraphim, both possessing human and animal features, so Hindus revere Mahadevas, the great angels, who were created by the Supreme Lord and who serve and adore Him. Each denomination worships a supreme God and its own pantheon of divine beings. The elephant-faced Lord Ganesha is among the most popular and is perhaps the only deity worshipped by Hindus of all denominations. There are gods and goddesses of strength, yoga, learning, art, music, wealth, and culture. There are also major divinities. There are also minor divinities, village gods and goddesses, who are invoked for protection, health, and such earthly matters as a fruitful harvest. That is a big Hanumanji, because that's a real train. Nature of the soul. Question to you, what does Hinduism say about the soul? The driving imperative to know oneself, to answer the questions. Who am I? Nanyar. Where did I come from? Where am I going? Has been the core of all great religions and schools of philosophy throughout history. Hindu teachings on the nature of self are as philosophically profound as they are pragmatic. That's interesting. They're both profound and pragmatic, not just one or the other. We are more than our physical body, mind, emotions, and intellect, which we so intimately identify every moment of our life, with which we so intimately identify every moment of our life, but which are temporary, imperfect, and limiting. In other words, part of us is imperfect, the outer part, which is listed there, and part of us is perfect, the inner part. Well, people sometimes get totally wrapped up in the outer part and think that they're really imperfect, totally ignoring the inner part, which is already perfect. So it's better to accept both. I have an outer part that's imperfect, and I have an inner part that's perfect. So does everybody else. True self is our immortal soul, the eternal, perfect, and unlimited inner essence, a pure being of scintillating light, unseen by the human eye, undetectable by any of the human senses, which are its tools for living in this physical world. Our soul is the source of all our higher functions, including knowledge, will, and love. It is neither male nor female, as I mentioned. The essence of our soul, which is never created, is eminent love and transcendent reality, and is identical and eternally one with God. So the whole soul isn't one with God, the essence of the soul. So there's probably a picture coming up which shows that the essence or the nucleus of the soul is already one with God. So if we were able to experience that right now, we would experience our oneness with God. Vedas explain, the soul is born and unfolds in a body with dreams and desires and the food of life. And then it is reborn in new bodies, in accordance with its former works. The quality of the soul determines its future body, earthly or airy, heavy or light. The Vedas teach that the divine resides in all beings. Our true spiritual essence is, like God, eternal, blissful, good, wise, and beautiful by nature. The joining of God and the soul is known as yoga. We spend so much of our time pursuing beauty, knowledge, and bliss in the world, not knowing that these objects of our desire are already within us as attributes of our own soul. If we turn our focus within through worship and meditation, identifying with our true spiritual self, we can discover an infinite inner treasure that easily rivals the greatest wealth of this world. So said another way, the soul is something we try to experience in the present moment. And if we can do so, then all of these qualities are something we will experience. Hinduism is a mystical religion, leading the devotee to personally experience the truth within, finally reaching the pinnacle of consciousness where the realization is attained that man and God are one. As divine souls, we are evolving into union with God through the process of reincarnation. We are mortal souls living and growing in the great school of earthly experience in which we have lived many lives. Knowing this gives followers a great security, eliminating the fear and dread of death. We've lived many lives, we're going to live more lives in the future. Nothing to fear. The Hindu does not take death to be the end of existence, as does the atheist, nor does he look upon life as a singular opportunity to be followed by eternal heaven, the existence for those souls who do well, and by unending hell for those who do not. Not a pleasant concept. Death for the Hindu is the most exalted of experiences. A profound transition from this world to the next, simultaneously an end and a new beginning. So it's like walking into another room in your house that you didn't know was there. It's no big deal, but it is entering something new. And it's quite natural. Despite the heartening glory of our true nature spoken of in Scripture, most souls are unaware of their spiritual self. This ignorance or veiling grace is seen in Hinduism as God's purposeful limiting of awareness, which allows us to evolve. It is this narrowing of our awareness coupled with a sense of individualized ego that allows us to look upon the world and our part in it from a practical human point of view. The ultimate goal of life in the Hindu view is called moksha, liberation from rebirth. This comes when earthly karma has been resolved, dharma has been well performed, and God is fully realized. So that's a beautiful quote to always remember. I call that the fourfold statement. Leaves out dharma, I think. Moksha comes, karma resolved, dharma well performed, and God fully realized. So we can't skip resolving our karma. We can't skip having certain experiences on earth, dharma well performed. And definitely we can't skip God being fully realized. All souls, without exception, are destined to achieve the highest states of enlightenment, perfect spiritual maturity, and liberation but not necessarily in this life. Hindus understand this and do not delude themselves that this life is the last. While seeking and attaining profound realizations, they know there is much to be done in fulfilling life's other three goals: righteousness, wealth, and pleasure. In some Hindu traditions, the destiny of the soul after liberation is perceived as eternal and blissful enjoyment of God's presence in the heavenly realms, a form of salvation given by God through grace similar to most Abrahamic faiths. In others, the soul's destiny is perfect union in God, or in the infinite all, a state of oneness. There it goes, the drop went back in the ocean. You can't take it out anymore. So that's the idea, a very Hawaiian idea. You have a bucket. Take the bucket to the ocean. Stick it in the ocean. You have a bucket of water that's separate from the ocean. That's like the creation of the soul. Water represents consciousness. Then at the end, moksha is simply going back to the ocean, dumping the bucket back in, and then that water, which is separate, can never be separated from the entire ocean again. It's just merged with it. So that's the Hawaiian concept. You could have a nice bucket with Hawaiian symbols on it. It's rather graphic. 64 character qualities, our second topic from our workbook. We're into the R's. Respect is the 49th character quality. How would you define respect? Our workbook gives this definition. Respect is admiration and due regard for others. I observe it through humility in discussions or activities by following the lead of those who are senior to me or more accomplished. The opposite is disrespect. And the quotes from Gurudeva. Love is respecting the elders. Love is also respecting yourself. Because unless you have self-respect, unless you respect yourself, which means having a good self-image, you will find it difficult to respect others. And unless you love and respect others, you will definitely have a hard time living in harmony with the world around you. Very large families may live in close contact with each other, and because they are so well adjusted and have such inner respect for each other, there is no contention, no feeling of being crowded. This inner respect for the moods and feelings of another is only possible because the soul qualities are awakened at an early age in the children. Very profound statement, Gurudeva. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in respect. And the third and last topic, quotes from Yoga Swami's Words of our Master. So it's an interesting one. You may not have thought about this. Electric waves are nothing compared with thought waves. The thoughts of others come and dash against me. What does that mean to you? When we think or talk about someone, we are sending a thought wave to them. Can't help but do that. Think about someone, talk about them, you're sending them a thought wave. Most people are not consciously aware of the thoughts they are receiving from others. However, the thoughts still affect the person's state of consciousness in a positive or negative way. So Yoga Swami was aware of them. He knew who was thinking about him, and sometimes it meant he knew who was coming and who was down the street. But even if we're not conscious of them, they influence us, positively or negatively. So gossiping about people is inhibiting them from doing well. Praising people is helping them do even better. So careful what you think and speak with that in mind. If you think of the state of Shiva, which is beyond all attributes, it won't come. It will come by itself. One day when I was in that state, a bird came and sat on my head. Even yogis and jnanis can't understand that state. What does that mean to you? What comes to my mind is the state that Gurudeva calls Parashiva is the state of Shiva beyond all attributes. You can't experience it by thinking about it. The bird sat on Yoga Swami's head because he was so totally withdrawn from the external that the bird didn't think he was a person. He was that still for that long. The bird just thought he was a fence post. And the last Yoga Swami quote, weakness belongs to the body and mind. The Atma is always full of strength. What does that mean to you? I think we did this one somehow. Okay. Skip that, come to this one. Make the prana to rise, enough of reading. What does that mean to you? Make the prana to rise, enough of reading. So Yoga Swami is not against reading. He's saying don't simply remain at the lower level of reading. Reach a higher level through meditation. So we want to read, but eventually we want to go beyond reading. Reach a higher level through meditation, which means we stop. And another quote he also says, enough of the singing. Let's be quiet and go within. So singing is good, but we want to eventually also transcend it. Thank you very much.